All right. Well, I'm Peyton McDaniel. Got Kelly Dale, Ben Miller. We are Ben and I are members of the Southern Farmer Seed Cooperative. Kelly, she works for Raffi. She's helped us get started with this cooperative because of the need for grain seed. And as a grain grower, and Ben as well, we couldn't find grain seed there for many years. And when I used to get phone calls all the time from seed dealers asking, where can I find organic seed? And so that's when I knew that we had to do something. And with Kelly, we were able to kind of get this thing started. So Kelly, I'll let you give an introduction here. Oh. I had it right. There we go. There it is.
Okay. So how this project actually started is we sent a survey out to all the organic growers in the Southeast, and they said that their needs were corn, soybean, wheat, and peanut varieties. So there was an OREI grant between NC State and Raffi, where we did variety trials on corn, soybeans, wheat, and then the peanuts, it wasn't really a variety trial. It was just because organic growers couldn't use fungicides, so it was just trying to find a healthy enough peanut to start all over again with. So NC State performed the variety trials, and they determined like the best organic or the best seed for organic productions. And so then I went to farmers, and we trialed it on actual working organic farms. And we used, the farmers were having a bit of trouble because NC State would come and they would use their equipment, and the planting equipment might not be the same size as what the farmer's tillage equipment is. And so the farmers were getting a little bit frustrated, so Raffi acted like a liaison in between. And I would set up the trials for the farmers. I'd come out, and I don't know if I made it easier, but I made it easier to maintain the plot. So it was still replicated 3 times, and just like the university does, but we would just use their equipment to plant it and their equipment to harvest it, and then collect the data and share it with NC State. So out of all that, 3 new varieties of organic soybeans were released, which the co-op is now growing. And then we also have a line of corn. So the line of corn, we shopped it around to some companies, but because the Southeast is such a small market, they weren't really interested in it. So then we would kind of have this dilemma, well, how are we going to get these corn and soybeans to other farmers in the Southeast? And so that's when we came up with the idea of forming this seed co-op, so that they could start reproducing it enough so that it could be sold to other farmers.
All right. Let's see. So I'll start with the soybeans. I do the most of the soybeans in the cooperative. And like Kelly said, we had the university when they would do trials. A lot of times in these research stations, it's such small scale. It's so small, and you got small scale. So with the university's help and Kelly, like I said, being the liaison, we were able to do this on a much larger scale and actually see what varieties work better. But lots of times we would have soybean varieties. We'd have to buy them out of Georgia, Florida, and these soybean varieties weren't that suitable for us. They'd be early maturing, and we would want something. We'd need a group 7 instead of a group 4, and just because of the way the organics worked. And so with the university and Raffi, we were able to make this thing work on the soybean side. So just a little bit on specifications for soybeans. So you can I won't read the whole thing, but you've got to be careful. And when you grow these soybeans, you can't grow them on the same. You can't grow them. Back to back. Well, you can grow the same variety back to back. You cannot grow a different variety back to back just because of contamination issues. And when we start our seed, it's got to be from Foundation Seed, which is a partnership with the university. And you'll hear me say the university, talking about NC State. So, but that partnership, we get seed from Foundation Seed, and we grow that out. then that's going to go to the growers. But it requires these field inspections by North Carolina Crop Improvement, which is also sponsored by the university. And they're going to do this inspection once leaves have dropped to determine, make sure all the color, the pod color and everything is like it should be per variety. And the one thing when you're producing foundation seed, which there are some foundation seed growers, the foundation seed, they've got to come out at bloom to make sure that it fits the variety and there hasn't been any contamination. And like it says here, field or portion of a field may be approved if the area is defined and or can be certified if the area is defined and it hasn't been mixed. One big thing is that on the grower side, growing out the seed, the boundaries, 5 feet because it's self-pollinating. So we actually try to be a little farther apart than that. So and just a lot of record keeping on that. And it's really one thing that we have to be careful of. Let's see, inspection of field at leaf drop. If producing foundation seed, a field inspection of bloom and leaf drop, which I said a while ago. We have and using bigger machinery now, which is, like I said, it's different than on these research stations. Using big machinery now on a larger scale, we've got to make sure our equipment is cleaned, and it's got to be cleaned, and you can't have, because you think about it, if you get 10 soybeans, you get a big combine, you get 10 soybeans left in there, well, those soybeans make it into that bag, then this thing has multiplied, and so you've got to be really careful, make sure everything is clean, no cross-contamination, because if you've got a 50-acre field and you've got a certain percentage that's off type, then you've got a problem, and you're kind of out on that seed. All your cleaning equipment got to be certified through crop improvement, once it's harvested and once it's cleaned and all that's passed inspection, crop improvement's going to take samples, make sure you've got correct germination, purity, and make sure basically there's no trash, and just.
Is it okay to ask questions there?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay, I just was curious about kind of like what exactly you did to clean out the combine. Like what tool do you use, or I don't know, maybe you'll talk
pretty
about
much got to take it not completely apart, but it takes a lot of vacuum cleaners, a lot of air, and you've got to blow this thing out. And it takes between varieties, it takes us about a day to clean out. And so when you're farming and you've got a day, lots of times you don't get but about 2 or 3 days in a row where you can actually harvest. So it takes a day to clean it out, and so that's you may lose a picking day. So then you lose a picking day, then it rains for 4 days, but then your seed quality is coming down. So it's a lot of factors that play in there. Let's see. All right. Any other questions on soybeans while I'm standing up here? You got any?
Sure, my foundation seed. I haven't heard that.
Foundation, Kelly can probably tell you more about foundation, but that is a partnership. It is a partnership between the university, between NC State, and North Carolina Crop Improvement, which is a certifying agency, is North Carolina Crop Improvement. And
yeah, so we went with that. So we went through crop improvement so that when it's just an extra level of like security to make sure that the varieties are the varieties.
Yeah, foundation. What foundation does is they make sure this seed is 100% pure. There's nothing, because there can be some off types and things like that when it gets to us, the next generation. But when it comes from foundation, it's got to be exactly right.
And then there's like different levels. So you have like you have your breeder and foundation seed, which is like pure. And then the next year it bumps, like if you save that seed back and then grow it out again, then it bumps down to, is it registered?
You come down to certified or in some varieties, depending on patents and licensing, it can be. And
then if you save that back and grow it out again, then it bumps it down another level, and then you've got to start all over again with pure seed again.
Yeah, but I believe it's North Carolina's foundation. I forget what it's called, but we refer to it as foundation seed, and that is the starting point. Basically, you've got the university, which does the breeding and the development of these varieties, but foundation is making sure that the seed is pure when it starts. when we get it. So, all right, corn. I can help, but I'll let Ben kind of handle that one. He's been good on the
All right. So to start out with talking about the corn, I'll tell you a little bit more about the variety that we grow. I think we have a name, or
there's no name for it.
Yes, but what we grow is what's called a double cross hybrid. So what we've done is we've taken 4 parent lines, crossed those to make a single cross hybrid. Then we crossed the 2 hybrids to make a double cross hybrid. And part of the complication in that is, so when you start at the beginning, you have what's called open pollinated. Open pollinated corn is really difficult to grow. It's really hard to make it to just make it do well. It's so susceptible to so many different things. So that's why you take those 2, you cross them, and make a hybrid. And hybrids always do better in situations. They're more adaptable. They're more uniform across the whole field. And then when you're able to take 2 hybrids that you really like the genetics of and cross those, then you have a double cross hybrid. Double cross hybrids are known to be higher yielding. Sometimes they're not quite as uniform, sometimes they're not quite as pretty as single cross hybrids, but the yields that come off of them are a lot better. So we came up with this, like Kelly said, there was a lot of different trials. I don't know how many different types they worked on to start with. Yeah. But the type that we ended up with, it's a really tall corn, it's a really long corn, it's about 120-day maturity. So it works well in the south because we have a longer growing season than the north. So it's appealing to us. It's got a lot of tropical corn in it, which helps a lot with drought situations. And it also helps a lot with wind damage and hurricane damage and stuff like that. So they picked out a corn that works really well, which NC State, Zach, a guy who worked at NC State, well, he didn't work there, but he worked at a major guild, which was a corn breeder there. So they came up with this variety, and it works really well. I've been really happy with it. It's outperforming pretty much everything else that we've done.
Yeah, I think it got second. Like they did a variety trial, just conventional corn, and we put this corn in, and it got second in yield or silage.
Yeah. It came in second on tonnage per acre for silage, and it was close to that on, I don't remember what it did at the grain trials, but I don't know what they did.
It holds its own in grain, but it's really good.
You're saying that was against a bunch of commercial single cross hybrids?
Yeah.
Wow.
And one of the things is it's a good variety, but nobody really wanted to take this variety on.
Yeah.
And because the market was so small, which is the same thing with soybeans. It's such a small market.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to take these varieties on. So
So much corn, and even now, less and less corn is grown in North Carolina because so many farms are going over to soybeans. Which that's just something that I've noticed around our area. But at the same time, you have a lot of, you're not ever going to completely get rid of corn. It's one of the most grown crops in the nation or in the world. So, and in the southeast, every single type of corn is bred in the Midwest. It's all, that's where corn's bred to be grown on black irrigated dirt. We don't have black irrigated dirt here, so it's worked out really well. So, did you have a question?
I think you just answered it, because I was just going to ask if you do your crossing.
Yes, we
to
do.
make your seed crops.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yep.
do?
Yep. So that's sort of one of the next things I was going to get to. So yeah, that kind of rolls us into this. Corn needs to be at least 660 feet away from other corn because you're cross pollinating, and the pollen relies a lot on the wind. The wind can carry it a really far distance. So whenever we are, like on our farm, when we're growing corn, we have to keep it 666 feet away from our plot where we're breeding the hybrids.
if you notice, soybeans was 5 feet.
Yeah.
660 feet.
Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with, I don't know if you've ever seen how corn pollinates, but you have the tassel at the top, and then, you have the tassel at the top, and you have the corn ears that come out. There's silks that come out of the corn ears, and the tassel has the pollen. The pollen falls down on the silks, and that's what breeds. That's the breeding action. that's what, pumpkins to corn, so, yeah.
For corn, usually I've heard that you need like a half mile minimum, to 5 miles for a good isolation distance. So, with 660 feet, are you getting any crossing? Do you worry about that at all?
No, and especially when I try to grow it, what I try to do is most of our wind comes out of the west, so I try to plant it to where I'm not gonna have any corn blowing out of the west towards it. But 666 feet is a pretty good ways. It would take a lot to blow that pollen that condensed to that next thing. In other words, by the time that it's traveled that far, it's so spread out that there's no telling where it's going.
And it's all got to be pollinating. That would all have to be
It
pollinating
all
at the
has
same.
pollinated at the exact same
Yeah.
time too. So
Corn pollen is pretty good.
yeah,
So
it is.
a large amount drops.
It drops pretty quick.
Yeah. One thing, and I don't know if you guys do this at all. I know that sometimes, like one of the differences between some of the specifications for more smaller scale seed growing and more larger scale seed growing for corn is that a lot of times when you see the 660 feet, that supposes that there is a when you're combining, kind of when you take out kind of the headers and the edge rows
Yeah.
and treat that as just feed corn and not as
Yeah.
seed. So is that
That's true.
something you do? Or
We
not?
haven't done that because
Okay.
we haven't
You haven't
quite
needed
got
to.
to that scale yet.
Yeah.
I still only grow a quarter-acre plot because that's all that I can manage by myself, pretty much. Because that's a lot still.
Yeah.
So
That multiplies.
yeah.
When you think about it. So
yeah, and I think we've done some bigger plots than that. Some of the farms that have been 1.5 hour have been able to do bigger plots than that. And one of the reasons why it is hard to do that is because the third one, female plants have to be tasseled daily for about 3 weeks, preferably before 9 a.m. So the way that we do it, we'll plant 6 rows of female plants in the middle. We've got 2 rows of male plants on the outsides. And once the tassels start coming up on the females, you have to pull them every day. You have to go out there every single morning. And the breeding happens mostly if you can catch the pollen before it starts falling for that day. You've caught a lot better. You don't have to worry about it as much. So try to get out there as early as you can in the morning. And you just have to pull out all the tassels that you see. But try to get them before they really come out and start dropping. So
What do you do, like put them in a bag?
I just drop them on the ground. Because usually when they first come out, they haven't started dropping pollen yet. So the goal is to catch them before that. So if you catch them and pull them out and drop them on the ground, then they're not going.
if you miss one, you'll know it.
Yeah,
That
if you-
next day.
If you miss one, and it's funny. You've seen where you have to. When I'm walking through the field, you have to walk one way and constantly look back because one can be covered up by a leaf or anything. It's kind of crazy how meticulous you have to be with it.
And it's pretty tall, so it's not
Yeah.
easy. Like,
Yeah, this variety
It's
of
not
corn
good.
is.
We gotta go for a short person.
Yeah, it's. I tried to build stilts the first time I did it, and it didn't work out very well. And then I thought, man, I need to get a horse and ride a horse and improve my house, something like that. But
But the big companies have these machines that
Yeah.
basically they cut an elevated
Yeah.
lawnmower.
yeah, that cuts it off.
So it cuts time of the plant. And then that also helps when you those tassels show
Yeah.
up very easy.
Exactly. Yeah,
Details.
that's exactly true. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
The only problem with that situation to me is when you're detasseling that way, you're pulling off your flag leaf and you're losing a little bit of yield, which I know they're more worried about productivity than making money. So, I guess that's one.
Well, it's
type of thing.
all a
So,
matter of your purity.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Exactly.
not gonna affect that.
No, it's not really. But to me, it seems like with this, I've tried to be a lot more meticulous with it. I think probably should let it a little bit of it go, and I'd probably be a little better off.
But it saves you some time.
Exactly,
If you
yeah.
got some old lawnmowers.
Yeah, yeah,
You ran through them, maybe you can do a half acre.
yeah. So,
But it doesn't really take that much time to go through. We do it, and you know, it takes us 20 minutes a day. Well, it depends on the people you put out there, but yeah, it doesn't take long to do it. It's really kind of, I know Ben will say this, it's really kind of rewarding to be able to do something like this. It's really fun just to see how this whole process is.
Well, the reward to me comes when we plant the crop next year and we see how good it plays, which is but yeah, a quarter acre, for him it takes about 20, I don't know how much y'all grow usually, but for me, by myself, it usually takes me about an hour to 15, 20 minutes or something like that.
You just go through with your hand.
Yeah, you just go through and when I see a Tesla, I just pull it out.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So how do you know the difference between male and female?
So what we do, we plant the males on the outside and the females in the middle.
And that's whatever we determine. That's whatever we decide it is.
We-
So like
we're
the
just
next
calling
year,
it a
you
male.
switch.
Yeah.
We're just calling them males or females. They're two different
Two
hybrids.
varieties?
They're two different
Two
hybrids.
varieties?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so we've done it.
The ones that you leave a tassel on,
Those are the males.
male.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then the females are the ones that receive the pollen. That's the one that we pick the ear off of.
So you don't pick ears off of the ones that you leave the tassel on?
I mean, we could and put it in this feed corn, but we couldn't save that for
Seed.
seed because that's just what they're called cells. That's just the same thing. So, the females are the ones, and we've gone back and forth as to which ones we pick for males and females, and I don't think it's made that much of a difference.
It hasn't. So we've
Yeah.
switched it, and we switched what we call the female 1 year to
Yeah.
the male, and then vice versa. And we've done it both ways, and the yield is about the same.
I remember the first. Go ahead.
So are you keeping those 4 lines yourself, or are you getting foundation seed for those 4 lines each time you do
So those are actually not through foundation seed. Those are just from a corn breeder in Tennessee State.
it? So you get fresh seed every time you do it?
What-
Yeah. Well, what we do is we start with. Well, are we still getting seed from nature, or we're growing some of our own, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just really hard to grow. I mean, they're really difficult. So we've had to. We have got some from him, but we'll grow the 4 parent lines, and then what we do is the next year we'll take those and we'll cross those into 2 double cross or single cross hybrids. But at the same time, the next year we're still growing those 4 parent lines again because we have to make seed for the next year. So if you start from scratch, it would really take 3 years till you have a double cross hybrid. So you have to constantly be planting those each year to make sure you have those seeds.
Yeah, so when you grow that single, the parent line, you're gonna grow it and you're gonna take 90% of it and cross it.
Cross it.
Save 10%,
Yeah.
plant it
Yeah.
again. And then that's how you just keep that there.
So every year you're growing the 4 parent lines and the single cross and the double cross?
Yeah.
Correct.
That's exactly right.
So it's spread out between
Yeah.
me and Ben and one or two others. We're all growing something different.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So
That's why they said fluff.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Exactly.
I couldn't keep it all straight. My time
So, if a tassel, so you go in there, you do tassel every single day. If a tassel's missed a plant, the 3-foot circle around the plant has to be removed because there's a possibility that it's bred itself. So then that would make the seed. And the female and male plants are planted in the 6-to-2 ratio, so there's 6 rows in the middle and 2 rows on each outside. We also try to plant male plants. When we plant the females, we'll go ahead and plant a row of males, but we'll plant a row of males on the outsides a week later, so that if they don't pollinate at the same time, we hopefully have male seeds that come up later that'll try to pollinate crops and stuff, or whenever the females are casting. So we're still.
Wait, sorry, can you say that again? Are you saying that you do a border of males, or you're saying that you've got it like when you're talking about the 2 males, one's planted straight away and one's a delay row?
Yeah, one's a
Okay.
delay row. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that way we try to make sure that we have pollen when the females are silking, so that we know that it's getting there.
And we tried to get away from that delay row because it is like, we use a planter to plant the
Yeah.
female, and then you have to go back and hand plant that delay row. So we were trying to save on labor, but it didn't, so.
I think that we could, it would be close, but it just, to make sure that everything gets pollinated, it's worth it. So, until we get things done, that makes sense, so.
Man, go there.
So the harvest and storage, only the female plants are harvested for seed. The males are just considered sales. So the females are the only ones that are considered the bred seed. And that's the same with the parent line. It's the single process and the double process. So, well, the parent lines, they're all just, they're sales. So that's all harvested. So there's no male and female for them. It's the same thing with the combine. You have to clean the combine out, make sure there's nothing. Because if I've got corn that I'm combining somewhere else and then I go to combine this, then you don't have those genetics are the same. You go to plant it's not the same. So, luckily, what I usually try to do is I'll try to combine. I'll try to harvest the seed corn first before I harvest any other corn. That way, if there is anything in the combine, it's just barley seed or something like that can come out quicker. But it still has to be cleaned out to where it's nothing that would contaminate it seriously. You have to store it in a cool, dry place. We prefer to try to store it in actual cool storage to keep bugs from getting into it. Bugs don't get in soybeans as bad, but they really like getting into them, so we try to keep bugs from getting into it as much as possible.
So is that like an air conditioned
Yeah, I mean.
It's cold storage.
Yeah, it's
30, 40
yeah,
degrees.
30, temperatures that would be really, really cold. Some of that folks it's around 30s.
And one lesson learned, the humidity cannot be high in the cold storage.
Yeah, the humidity's gotta be really cold.
Because we have lost some seed that way.
So is it like those containers?
Yeah.
Well, what we do after we harvest it, we'll go ahead and clean it, and then we'll put it in bags, and then we'll put it into cold storage.
So it's like putting 50-pound bags.
Yeah.
And load it on a pallet and go pallet.
Yeah. That's.
Yeah, no.
I just
Okay.
put this field specifications in for small grains. We have not grown any, but I didn't know if anybody in here was interested in growing small grains. And you can find all those specifications on NC Crop Improvement. It'll give you like guidelines for growing.
Is that something that the co-op's considering? Like, is there much demand for small grain seed?
I mean, we've considered it a good bit, and really, it would probably be the easiest one. It's the one we haven't.
Yeah, we decided we're gonna start.
Yeah.
Come back out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we started the hardest. But I mean, I had a phone call yesterday. Somebody looking for small grain for wheat and rye. So I think it's something we'll definitely look into, but just haven't gotten there yet.
Well,
trying to get all this other stuff kind of
yeah.
taken care of first.
Early on, we were talking about doing some cover crop seed as well, but I think that would be after we get.
Which is still I think would be a good idea. And even adding the wheat, it's just, we've got the cooperative kind of small because it's new and not making money yet. But, just adding another crop into it, rotation, and like these guys who have been working, kind of taking on the cost themselves. So yeah, but I think that they would, and I don't want to speak for the co-op, but open to growing other.
Well, it would be helpful. A small grain would fit in really well. I mean, just like your natural rotation. Right? rotate crops. But it's getting to that point, getting where.
And I
you
think
can
the
start-
infrastructure,
Yeah, having infrastructure as well.
yeah, like somewhere to store.
Yeah.
We're still working on building that.
Yeah. Any other questions about, or what, do you wanna talk about city cleaner or something?
I don't know how you make this thing work here.
The little video.
There was a, I think it was good. I don't know how well.
Do you want me to click it?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we made it work in testing here.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe.
Oh, there. The season's up to ash, it's up to the other side over there. Sorry, the video quality is not that great. But like I said, yeah, here is where all of your, and this is, I mean, this is a relatively small seed cleaner, but we can, and I can't remember the volume. I think it's, I just can't remember the volume, but it's almost 100 bushels an hour. So if you think about it, I mean, that's pretty. It is pretty quick, and I mean, they run it constantly, but.
Is that just one right there? Can you
That was soybeans on that one. I mean,
but they're different size screens.
yeah. So we have different screens. In fact, even on the soybeans, we've got different varieties, different seed size. So we'll change screens based on, and it's not just from year to year. You got to change, and from field to field, you may have to change screen size. Because you've got one field that's 20 miles away, it got more rain in July and August, the seed size is a little bit bigger, in which this year we got a little bit of concern because we had a lot of dry weather where I was in July and August, so we're going to have a little smaller seed size. So yeah, then we'll just switch screens, even with corn. Corn's a completely different screen, we'll switch that out, and it does the exact same thing. So we try not to use any augers, especially with the soybeans, an auger will split that seed. So everything's belt, and it's a lot of, but everything we're trying to do is with a belt, and it's taking a lot of trial and error trying to get this thing right. But we was pretty successful last year, so hopefully we can. This thing ran for 2 weeks every day, and so we ran a lot of seed through it last year.
What's the machine when you get it? What's the machine and where did you get it?
That's a Clipper seed. It's a Clipper seed cleaner. I bought it out of AT Farrell.
You can, if you're
I
interested.
can't remember.
Yeah, there's a lot of used ones online.
Right, yeah, I know Commodity Traders International.
Yeah, no, I bought this one. I bought this one from out of I can't remember, Indiana or Iowa. I'm not sure, but yeah, no, it's really good. It's a really good cleaner, and they make smaller ones that are just as good. But this one here is it worked well. Like I said, it doesn't have volume for what we need, and of course one day hopefully we can get something that's a lot bigger.
So was that like a 4 screen or a 2 screen or just
4?
4,
Yeah. I don't know if you've got anything else in here or not. What's that? Spiral separator. So, depending on where it came from, a lot of times the soybean seed will have, it's got a lot of trash in it. That spiral separator right there, we'll run it in through the top. Before, we'll this is before or after? Okay, that's right. Yeah, because a lot of this stuff, so a lot of this stuff, these weed seeds, like cucumber, is the same size. If it's dried down, it's the same exact size as a large soybean. So it falls through, it makes it all the way through that cleaner. I mean, it's the same weight and everything. It doesn't get blown out. So then we have to run it through the spiral separator, which basically, I'll say it's the same weight to an extent, but the spiral separator is nothing like you see there. It's just spiralized. It just spirals and it just goes around. So the heavy stuff stays, actually runs out because the faster it goes, it'll run out, and the light stuff stays to the bottom, and which would be any of that trash. So that's it. We don't like to use that, but only if we have to. Because and if you don't use it, then your seed will fail inspection.
Just about the spiral separator, one of the nice things about that is that even if you've got stuff that's equally heavy, a lot of it's like you're saying, it's sort of how well it rolls.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
it's like I worked with a guy that would grew rye and vetch or rye and field peas together as a cover crop. Would harvest that seed, and then it wasn't perfect, but he would basically run that through the spiral separator, and the rye would come out one chute, and the field peas would come out the other chute, and then he could kind of custom mix.
Yeah.
His mix, so it works. Yeah, even if it's other, heavy seeds, it will. If one's more rolly, more round, and the other's not,
Yeah.
it'll separate it.
It's going to spin out of that thing. The faster it goes, it'll spin out.
And looking at it, like, first time I used one, I was like, well, there's no moving part.
Yeah. You would think you would need a
Like,
motor
there's
and
nothing to it,
It's
you know?
literally just a bunch of metal cones, and the faster they spin, it separates them out. So
that might be okay. Just spiral separator.
Yes.
Does it work for non-round seed as well?
That's. Yeah, so juice fast and spinning around.
And it actually-
Yeah, it works best when you're trying to separate round seed from something else. So, yeah, I don't know. Have you ever tried it on the corn?
I've never
We
tried.
Okay.
haven't had
Mhm.
to.
No.
When we got it, or we got that one a while back. We bought a different seed like a long time ago, and the guy told us that he mostly used it for separating soybeans from monoculture seeds, and so stuff like that is what it really works best with.
Yeah.
Corn's usually pretty easy to clean because it's so heavy that it's so oddly shaped that you can get it clean pretty easily through soybeans.
And anything that's gonna be lighter than that
Yeah.
corn seed, because the corn seed's heavy, so most of the things that's lighter, you're gonna blow it out.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
They work for. I've had success with them for smaller size round seeds, like more like brassica seeds and stuff like that. Same idea. It can roll and separate.
And for that, it's getting healthy seed. It's not just about getting it's happening.
To some extent, yeah, the seeds are plumper. They're more mature. Yeah.
And then the last piece of equipment is a gravity separator or gravity table. We have access to one, but we've not had to use it yet. But like if you run it through the cleaner and the spiral separator and you still have stuff you need, that would be the last step. We should take care of it.
If you get to that point, you've messed up somewhere before, so you need to
That's fine.
need to talk to your combine operator if you've got to go to the third step here. But yeah, hopefully, luckily we haven't really had maybe
You
just
just
one
cursed
time.
us.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to use it.
Let's see.
That's it.
Alright, that's us there. If y'all have any questions, you can call us or email us anytime. Do you have any more questions now? I know it's kind of, we're a little bit new to this, but this cooperative, we started this cooperative in 2000, but we kind of started before, I would say a little before 2017, we kind of started looking at
On
things.
paper.
Yeah, and but if you notice, none of us live anywhere near each other, and that's kind of strategic too, to an extent. None of us live within an hour of each other, and so if I've got an issue, Ben's probably not going to have an issue. Yeah, or you know what I'm saying. So it works out.
That's likely to.
Yeah,
You spread that.
we spread that risk out a little bit, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask if you could talk a little bit about the process of organizing how you went about that.
Well,
We're not the most organized people, so it's been kind of hard.
Kelly did a really good job. and-
I like the unpaid intern.
I
is
call
what
her
they
my
call me.
unpaid
More
intern.
like the unpaid CEO, probably.
And so Kelly, she did a good job of just the established organic growers that she knew, and we'd all worked with Kelly in the past, and like I said, we all kind of had knew what we were doing on the organic side, and so it was time for us to try something new. And like I said before, when I was getting phone calls, where these seed dealers, calling me and asking me where to find seed. That's kind of when you know you need to be in the seed business. And of course, I'm not the most successful person in the seed business, but at least I know that that's the business we need to be in, and Ben understands, and he's on board that this is what we need to do, and he's got a tough time finding organic seed, organic corn seed. And like he said, all organic corn seed is bred for the Midwest because that's where the majority of it's grown. And so when we were having to go out and buy, and I would have to buy corn seed out of Kansas, and it just made it really difficult. We just weren't getting yields, and it wasn't good for our climate. And now this variety we're working on now seems to be. I wish we had a picture. I had some corn seed this year. I had some left, and had a dealer called me and asked me where you could find organic corn seed, and I said, "Here, come get this." I gave it to him, and you can tell the variety he had, and I'm not sure where that variety was from. The variety he had and the variety we had was a visible difference. It was amazing the difference that it was because the like I said, I guess it's got some.
I didn't put it on the PowerPoint because it was in the Snapchat
and it had a bad version.
vanity.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys wouldn't mind, but it was really kind of cool that and we could. We've never seen a side by side
I
comparison.
kind of walk around and show you. The 2 rows in the middle is our corn, and everything else is
Wow.
other corn.
So that's kind of makes us feel good.
See how the other leaves are rolled up in ours.
And this is a variety that the corn seed variety hadn't been produced in 50 years.
Like the detached ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, that hasn't been done in North Carolina. They still do it in some parts of the Midwest and stuff.
But this specific variety was kind of lost at the university level.
Nobody really.
And nobody, like I said, nobody wanted it, and
It's the variety that
yeah, that we're growing now the corn variety.
Are you gonna slap a name on it at some point?
We that's
You know what?
that's
One
when
of
you get
the
your lawyers
growers-
involved, and you've got university patents and licenses and that kind of stuff.
Well, it's all public lines, just one of them has a royalty.
Well, so we're kind of we got to get that figured out.
Call it Kelly's.
We're thinking about adding her in there.
So if y'all started in 2017 and it takes 3 years to get the double cross, does that mean it's coming?
We that's what I'm saying. We started this kind of before.
Okay.
So we kind of started this before, and we're kind of just messing around with it. But we for the last couple, when we started, we actually did have double cross. We had and I don't know where we got the first 2 single crosses. I can't remember. Okay, so they came from the university, and if I'm mistaken, they were bred in Puerto Rico or South Florida or something. I can't remember, but because of the
Did they come from NC State?
yes.
The single cross lines?
Well, they're probably a but
Mhm.
Major Goodman.
Yeah, it's Major Goodman, but he had sent them, when he sends the lines somewhere out, like Florida to grow out or
During the winter.
during the winter.
Yeah.
Breeders do that, so they'll.
Yeah.
They do one breed, but, so we'll make a cross maybe here in the summertime.
Mhm.
And then, because you have to make the inbreds, you have to
Mhm.
make
Right.
selfing, and so you send it to a winter nursery
Yeah.
for, to make self, then you bring it back here and you make another self. So you're kind of selecting a little bit in both places, but for the most part of the winter nursery, you don't want to make a whole lot of selection because you're selecting for Puerto Rico or wherever you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
But then you actually do more selection, really pay attention to it when it's back here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's selected.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's been fun, and we, like I said, we started this in before 2007. Well, I said we kind of started messing around a little bit before 2017, especially on the organic, on the soybean varieties. Kelly and I worked together on those, and then we worked on this corn, and that's actually been fun. When we first started, we didn't know. We kind of like we're looking at a grad student telling us what we had to do, and luckily he was right on everything he told us. So
He was so nervous. He would just, remember the day we planted, he came out and he was like, "Are you sure this planting works? Like, is it gonna plant right? Is it gonna come up? Like, are we gonna, And so he was calling me like every day for a week. Does it come up yet? Does it come up yet? Does it come up yet? And then finally I sent him pictures of corn plants every 10 inches for 400 feet.
Because this was his this was his research project. He was getting his master's doctorate. This was his research project. So if we failed, he failed.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure on us.
Yeah.
But
What was that?
I think that tell us more about like your experience working with the university and stuff. But that sounds like a great thing. But what's it like with the crop improvement office? I guess they're kind of helping you out. Are they regulating kind of?
I mean, for sure. I mean, they've obviously got their regulations they have to follow, and they're making sure we're following. But I mean, it's really, and I always work closely with the university. Just going to school there, and just always doing these trials, just any trials, organic trials. Once I got out of school, and with a lot of those professors, and so it's been a good relationship. These people they're helping us as much as they can, and making sure we stay within those boundaries. So it's been it's really been good, and the university's been great to us, and crop improvement has been great to work with too. They're making sure they know what we're trying to do, and there's no organic soybean varieties available, so or very few, and none suitable for us. So they see the demand, and as is the university, so they're always wanting to help. So it's really been a good relationship.
So, I apologize. I missed the first couple minutes, and you may have said this already, but the seed you're growing, is it basically all staying within the co-op at this point, or is
The soybean seed?
yeah, soybean and the double cross? Yeah.
The soybean seed, no, is in fact,
We sold this year.
yeah, we were growing some out before, and I was saving it and using it, and but last year we sold. I think how many bags? 4,000 bags. About 4,000 bags, and I sold it anywhere from South Carolina to Virginia. So it was really and sold out. So that was.
And kept getting calls to sell.
Hmm?
So I said we kept getting calls.
Oh yeah,
so.
and he would call me and say because luckily his phone number's the one on the contact information there. So then he'd call me, and so it was really good. We sold out, and I still had calls.
So what varieties do you have for beans? Are they university beans?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Jake's?
Dilday, Dunphy, Wilder, those were the 3 new releases. So when we started working with them, they were just experimental numbers, but they had been released by state. And then we have Osage, Jake,
Miller
and Miller.
so,
And then
and
we had 7003
CN.
CN, and then we did have an 8002, which is like a group 8, and we had a hard time getting rid of the group 8s. So this year we did not.
So it was
do
a
that.
really good yielding variety, but just on the seed side, nobody wants it, and anything to produce it. Kind of look at it, so we'll revisit that. But
So you testing in the state to know where the best place to have those to grow those? Or you just kind of go with what the university's done?
I grow all of them pretty much, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, well, at this point we're going
And-
with
and-
university trials.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we go down east with like her Kelly's brother. He grows some of the earlier groups down east, and I'll take some of the later groups. So it's been,
But we did do that trialing, like, of all the varieties, like, before we even formed the co-op, so we have, like, numbers and yields, and, like, sometimes our numbers are the same as states, and sometimes they're different. Like, the Wilder, for example, it yielded really well at Peyton's farm, and, like, his, cousin was harvesting it, and, like, this is really good variety, like, this is the one, and then in states trials it was not.
yeah. So I have people call and they say, what do you have? And I'll tell them I got this, and they want the Dunphy's, and
They want, like,
The
because
7
they'll
double
go
threes.
and look at states,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so whatever the top ones, that's the ones that.
so it was hard for me to sell the Wilders. I'm like, guys, you really need these Wilders. You need these Wilders. No. Just take my advice. I promise you, take the Wilders. And most people have been pleased with it. So.
So what are the numbers like with it? Like, are you guys making more money growing seed than you would be making grain per acre?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, how much more is it? Like twice as much, you think?
No, it's about we're looking about 35% more, and that's with our costs, taking out cleaning costs. Which our cleaning cost is not that much, but one of the biggest costs and it's hard to put it. It's really kind of hard to quantify is your record keeping and that sort of stuff. It's hard it takes a lot to have to to keep up with this stuff and so that's one of those things hard to quantify, but it's really been it's been fun and it's just doing something completely new, but and being able to kind of capitalize on the need for these organic varieties and make more than you would make. I don't know how much all of you know about the organic soybean market, but we're down about, I think we're down 25% from what we were 3 or 4 years ago.
Double the price.
Price is down 25%. And that's due to purchases out of Eastern Europe and South America. So when you're budgeting for the next couple of years and you're looking at $25 soybeans, it's pretty good. We can do this, and then then you come down to 18 to 20 or $21, $18 to $21. You start looking at other avenues as in seed production. But
I think there's room. There's the possibility to make more money doing the corn seed. It's a lot more risk.
Yeah.
There's a lot more man hours that go into it, and which corn is that way anyways. I mean, it can go really well and you can do really well on the corn, or one thing can go wrong and you've lost everything you put into it. So it's sort of tough. Corn's a little riskier, but I think there's that chance that you get out of it.
and obviously corn acres, organic corn acres are not nearly as high as organic soybean acres.
Yes.
Who are the buyers for your products? Is it like human consumption or is it for?
It's all for feed.
Most of it's for food. Yeah.
How many farmers are in the co-op?
6.
Yeah, I know there's 6.
6 of us. Yeah, and some of them. Everybody plays a part, whether it be corn, soybean, whether it be both, or just on the corn side or on the soybean side. But having everybody spread out, like we were talking about, having everybody spread out, it's logistically sometimes can be tough.
It's
Kelly
hard
does
to
a lot.
get them together for a meeting,
Yeah.
like an in-face meeting, but.
And Kelly running around, our unpaid intern running around, from farm to farm. It'd take 2 days to get around them, but it's really everybody doing something different is beneficial for us.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Where is everybody? I know where you.
Yeah.
But,
So I'm from Nash County,
Yeah.
oh,
so
Yeah.
an hour,
And-
a few minutes east.
And
Got
then there's a
one.
farmer in Perquimans, one in Rowan, and Billy,
Billy's in Southern
Well,
California.
he's in the
County.
Sand Hills.
Yeah,
Moore
he's
County.
in Eagle Springs.
Yeah.
And did you invest in equipment storage facilities on one farm or in multiple farms, or do you have like a centralized?
I do all the cleaning, and storage, and I do pretty much everything out of my place. I guess because mine is probably a little more central than
Yeah.
everybody else's.
His is like central and it's right off 95, so like
So everything comes to me. At the end, everything kind of comes to me, and I'll clean it and bag it and store it and then ship it whenever. If I have because I'll get a big order of, especially soybean seed, I'll get a big order and just load it up and take it to a warehouse, wherever that may be, and deliver it.
So did you deliver most of it? Or?
Yeah, I delivered probably 80% of it.
So what kind of setup do you have for bagging?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of setup do you have for bagging?
So right now we're all in bulk bags. I'm in bulk bags because if I mainly it's because you're kind of haggling on price there, and somebody says, "Well, I want them for this, and I want them for that." So, well, I'm not going. I mean, if I've got to bag them, you got to add another $2 back.
It's like the 4 foot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's so we're selling the 2,000-pound totes, and it's there was one of those pictures there as a green bin, and it's got a chute on it, and you just pull that lever and you fill it till scale hits 2,000, shut it off, and tie it up, and yeah, put it on a pallet.
That's trash.
Hmm?
That's trash too.
Yeah.
So you've got all the cold storage of your place?
Hmm?
You've got all the cold storage?
Yeah, I've got a warehouse nearby that we'll put it in and stuff. But most of the stuff is like the soybeans, which is the majority of the volume. I'll clean it by the time we get it in and get everything kind of set up and ready to go. We'll start cleaning in January. So the November, December weather doesn't really matter, and so we'll clean it in January, and then I'll try to get it out just as soon as I can. Of course, we were a little later this year, but we'll try to get it out just as soon as we can. So.
I had a question about, so did you all ever try for the corn doing three-way hybrids with having a inbred for the male rows?
No, we haven't.
Okay, just because
The university may try, but
Okay.
like as a cooperative,
Yeah.
no.
uh-huh.
As a cooperative, we've only done the one breed. That's all we've done.
Okay, I see.
Simply because it's one that's worked pretty well, and there will be, there's going to be more interest in other breeds, I'm sure. We just haven't gotten to that point.
Are there sort of things that are kind of coming down the pipeline that seem promising that way?
One thing that we want to try to get into is the non-GMO, the GMO blocking gene that prevent it from cross-pollinating with genetically modified crops. So it's just hard to get that into a line, and it's still yield enough to be something that's worth doing.
Where's that gene?
The popcorn gene.
Popcorn gene. So popcorn won't breed with most other types of corn, and so that gene, if you can crossbreed it into a corn line, then you can get some of that. It's not that it won't breed with any other corn, so it blocks GMO from coming in. So it's getting it bred in is difficult.
Is there anybody working on that regionally? I know Frank Pepe in North Dakota or something was doing that. I don't know who else is.
Major, right?
Yeah.
Major's working on it.
I don't know about for this region. I've heard of some other corn companies that have a GMO blocking variety.
At what point does the organic certification come in terms of like foundation seed grown a certain way, or like how far back?
No, that's something we're working on now. It's not because it's all new.
Yeah.
It's all new, so we're kind of working on that now. Working with.
But the seed is organically certified.
Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah.
it meets those standards because it's grown on certified organic land and it's not treated. So each of the farms is organic where the seed is being grown.
Right.
And then we got the handler's license for the seed cleaning equipment so that Peyton can take the seed from other farms and have it on his farm and clean it, and it still remain organic.
Right. But we're working on the foundation seed in and trying to get all that stuff because like this whole thing is new. I say that it's new. The demand is really just ramped up in the last several years. So we're trying to get all that worked out. Hopefully we can do that, and it'll be certified from start to finish. But now it's just we're having to kind of go around that.
We want to be able to grow foundation seed instead of just registered class. That way we start it over ourselves all the time.
And we can control that. It's not just what we can just get our hands on. We can control what the demand is.
Because like right now,
what the consumer wants.
if you order soybean seeds from Crop Improvement, I mean you might want a variety, but it might already be treated, so then you can't have that variety that year. So yeah.
Is that so? It has the kind of the foundation. Is there been sort of like a conflict between kind of the foundation, class seed requirements and the organic certification, or is it just a matter of just coordinating to get.
It's kind of, it's the
Uh-huh.
coordination.
Yeah.
Just like I said, this thing is, say this thing is new, the process is new, and so we're trying to get all those details worked out where we can make that all work. But,
What's that in a lot of years?
yeah. Anything else?
Yeah. Thank you all. This
Thank
is
you,
really
guys.
really interesting. Yeah.